Greetings from Southern Yankee Homestead. This is your first time? Welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Well, as the title says, today we're making a lasagna. And we're actually going to be making it with one of these, a butternut squash. This can be made gluten-free. Not sure if this is gluten-free for us. It's definitely not vegetarian. It can be made vegetarian. I'm just going to show you the basic principles of this. It'll be up to you to modify it to your taste. So I say that because it can be, it can't be, it all depends on how you want to do it. So with that being said, let me get the first item prepped after I deal with someone that just drove into the driveway. Time to get the fireplace looked at. It's that time of season. All right, we're back. Just to fill you in, had someone come take a look at the fireplace because we're getting smoke in the house, and my theory was correct. So that'll be coming up in another video. But anyhow, right now we have a small butternut squash. What we're going to do is we're going to get this prepared. It is a little late. It's almost 11 o'clock right now, and I was hoping to start this at 4. I'd like to have 6 hours on this. 12 hours is fine. Longer is even better. We're using this particular one, which isn't completely hardened up yet. It's still got a little bit of green in it. We're using this because when we were harvesting it, the stem came off. So when you're harvesting butternut squash, you want to keep the stem intact. This will allow it to cure correctly. If you don't, you'll end up with this, and it'll start rotting on you very quickly. So we're going to empty it out. You don't want all this stuff in your whatever you're cooking. So just scrape that out. I took a minute and switched over to the Hero 9 because, well, with this 7 I couldn't exactly see based on the angle what I was actually filming. So in case you missed it, one butternut squash that has been skinned. This recipe you can use pretty much any kind of squash. Butternut, buttercup, spaghetti squash, not so much, but zucchini, acorn squash, just whatever you choose to use. The next part, we're actually going to use our dish that we're going to make the lasagna in, and a mandolin. This is a vegetable slicer. Hun hates these. She doesn't like using them. I can understand. It's a dangerous tool. You got to be careful not to take pieces of your fingers off. I say that ahead of time, and knock on wood, I don't take pieces of my fingers off. If you don't have a mandolin, if you got like one of those veggie spiral things or an electric slicer or something like that, what you want are semi-uniform thin pieces. If you're good with a knife, you can do that, and then you don't have to cut it the way I cut it. If you want to cut it into medallions or little circles, whichever is easiest for you. The point is you want them to be equal in size. We're literally going to take this and we're just going to make some pieces like this. And this is just the prep work right now. So we're just trying to get a bunch of these pieces so that we can actually make the lasagna tonight. Next thing you need, just good old-fashioned salt. And we're going to liberally salt this. You're going to use a lot of salt. I don't know exactly how much. I'm not measuring. But I got this idea from one of our local farmers. Well, actually, from one of the local farmers' wives. Basically, what happened was I went to purchase some produce from him last year. Oh. And we're going to throw this chunk away because, well, yeah, I cut myself. So we're not putting blood on our lasagna. So let me go put a Band-Aid on and grab some gloves, and then I'll be right back. In case you were wondering, these are cut resistant gloves. These are what we use when we're butchering. This one hasn't been used for butchering. But as I was saying, I got this idea from one of the local farmers, more specifically the farmer's wife. She is a Sicilian. She was born and raised in Sicily, and we were talking about eggplants and the fact that I'm not a big fan of eggplants, and the biggest reason I'm not a big fan of eggplants is the texture. Most of the recipes you see for butternut squash lasagna takes the butternut squash, pre-cooks it, and mashes it. We're not going to mash it. We're going to use the squash as the noodle itself. And that's the trick the lady told me with doing eggplant. Basically what you do is you slice it thin, you salt it, and then you let it set for several hours. And what happens there, it draws the moisture content out of the squash. So by drawing the moisture content out, you end up with pieces that aren't going to mash very well, which is good. There we go. Alright, so from here, we're going to cover this and just leave it on the counter the next 4 to 6 hours. Okay. I'm up here. Alright, so if you're going to be leaving this for more than 6 hours, what you want to do is put it in the fridge. Cover it regardless, that way you don't get in little bits of refrigerator in there. Alright, we need to start getting some of these ingredients assembled. First ingredient we need to assemble is our tomato sauce. So, we've got a can of stewed tomatoes here. Nice track. Just going to throw that into a pot. With that, we get a can of tomato paste. And yes, this is a lot of tomato paste. We're doing this intentionally. So we're going to start. I'm going to go a good healthy dab of oregano. Good healthy dab thyme. And since our basil went ballistic this year, a really good healthy dose of basil. While that heats, we're going to go ahead and get some peppers. We didn't want to liquefy the peppers, so we didn't put those in first. These are the last of our garden peppers. I think we need to do more peppers next year. And of course a little garlic. For the sauce, we basically have all the seasonings in there. We're going to bring it up to temp, then let it simmer for about 10 minutes. At that point, we're going to taste it and see if we need to adjust the seasoning at all. And for now, because I got more stuff to cook, I'm going to slide this to the back. Alright, we're back. We're going to go ahead and get our squash ready. So, if you look in the corner, see all that liquid? That's what we were trying to get out of this. So we're going to load all this up into this colander. Alright, what I did there was basically just a single slice of bread. I'm going to heat up the oven, throw the pan with the bread in it for now because we're going to need some breadcrumbs in the bottom of this. I'll tell you why in a minute. I got the bread that is mostly dried out. I'm just going to throw it in this mini processor real quick. Alright, so we're going to take our breadcrumbs. The reason we're doing this is because even though we have the butternut squash dried out a little bit, it's still very wet. So we want to have something that absorbs the moisture. Alright, last step before we stuff it in the oven. We're going to go ahead and cover her up. At this point, we're going to stick it in the oven for 20 minutes at 375 degrees on the top shelf.
Sticking wicked in the oven.
And we will be back in 20 minutes or 40 because we're going to cook it for 20, take the foil off, cook it for another 20. So we'll be back when it's ready. I ended up giving it another 8 minutes on top of the 20, then the 25. Give it another 8, hopefully to get some of the moisture content out. At this point, we're going to set it for 15, and we're just going to let it sit here for 15 minutes. 15, not 30. Oh, and then I killed it at the last second.
Oh, maybe mine will come out nice.
It's the bread.
That was hot. Honey. Let's just go. This is so good.
So you have the verdict. It's so good. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We're going to go ahead and dig in, have dinner, and we'll experiment with this recipe a little bit more in the future. See if we can get the moisture content down a little.
Well, I was just about to say, you're talking about the moisture. This is not. I don't see much moisture. Look at this. It's holding together.
I'm looking in the bottom of the pan.
Yeah, that's just a little bit of thing in there.
Anyhow, hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment, subscribe, and like. And will we see him in the next video? No. You'll see us in the next video, though. Bye.
Bye. Who farted? Okay.
Yeah, she just went there.
What?